Hey horror fans, you remember my last video when I actually did a good movie? Yeah, that was fun. Uh, Here's Black Christmas 2006, and it sucks. Yeah, this is the first remake, back in 2006, I guess also called Black Xmas. And this was the first Black Christmas movie I ever saw, and don't know why I saw this one first. I didn't see it when it came out. I saw it years later, but I don't even know where to begin with this movie. It literally is. It's weird because it's a remake that is everything that the first one was, but reversed. It's still Black Christmas, but everything that made the first movie what it was, they toss aside and they do this. Now, this movie does have a fan base. I do know that people like this movie. A good follower of mine, of Death Metal Elitist, he loves this movie to death. And good for him. I mean, I don't think any less of him, no ill will towards him. No movie is ever going to be loved or hated the same by everyone. This movie is, okay, I guess I can give it some positives. It's gory, but even though I'm a big gore hound, I mean, some of my top 10 favorite movies of all time: Evil Dead 2, Evil Dead 1, Reanimator, Dead Alive. Those are all in my top, Creep Show. Those are all in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I love gore. And other favorite movies, Bad Taste. Hell, even movies that aren't necessarily gory, but still really gross with great effects. The Thing, The Fly, The Blob. I love that shit. Even the Evil Dead remake, I love. But gore doesn't save a movie. You gotta have something around it. And even then, it's not even that as gory. There's just a lot of eyeballs. A lot of eyeball gouging, plucking, eating. They bite into an eyeball, the juices go everywhere. And in fact, the only real gory parts would be, the part where, in the backstory with the mom, and the very, very tail end. And, okay, just backstory of the movie. Came out in 2006. It was directed by Glen Morgan, who I think a lot of people will know that he played Roger in the 86 film Trick or Treat, not the newer one, the newer anthology film. Apart from that, he's done work on like Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone as a producer. He's done a bunch of things. And it stars, they got all the eye candy actresses of this time. You got Michelle Trachtenberg, you got Katie Cassidy, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Lacey Chabert, Kristen Cloak. And then you got Andrea Martin, who played Phil or Phyllis in the original film. Now she's the house mother. And, it takes place Christmas Eve, whichever one it is. And we go back and forth between the present night, where they're trying to celebrate Christmas together, and the backstory of the killer. Now, one of my favorite things about the original Black Christmas is it's the only slasher film I can think of where you don't at all, start to finish, see the killer like full face. You don't see who he is. You don't know who he is. He calls himself Billy over the phone, but you don't even know if that's true. You don't know his motivation. You don't know why he's there. You don't know a thing about him. I thought that was interesting. That's what made it creepy. The fact that you don't know anything about this guy. You don't, that's scary. With this, even though this came out the year before Rob Zombie's Halloween, they went Rob Zombie Halloween. They give him the most twisted backstory a slasher killer can have. And, I mean, they did not hold back. They wanted to make it as twisted and fucked up as they could. And like I said with Rob Zombie's Halloween, it felt like an angsty... Actually, who wrote this? Bob Clark was an executive producer, so there's that. Who also wrote the original. Trying to find who wrote the damn thing. Screenplay, okay, screenplay by Glen Morgan, okay. So, by the director. And I know some people are going to throw this at me. The backstory in this film is what Bob Clark had in mind in the original film. I don't know how true that is. I have heard that. But did you notice it's not in the original film? It wasn't for a reason. They must have pulled it for a reason. In fact, when people talk about the original film, one of the things they talk about is the fact you don't know anything about the killer or even who he is. Even if this was Bob Clark's idea for a backstory. Hell, I think Ghostbusters is the greatest American comedy ever made. When I look at stuff Dan Aykroyd had in the original script, I think it's a bad idea, and I'm glad it was pulled. I'm glad it was dropped. Kind of the same thing here. And I know some people like backstories for killers. They think they're getting like a psychology lesson. That we're getting into the mind of the killer. It's like, that works at like the end of Psycho. And a lot of people don't even like that scene. Just, when you just make a bunch of fucked up shit happen, it's not really interesting. I know I'm going to contradict myself because this movie is so bland and the characters are so, at least for me, unlikable and unentertaining, that the part that I dislike the most about it, getting the backstory in the serial killer, is the most interesting. Now, how the fuck does that work? I don't know, but it does. Okay, this kid named Billy, he's born 1970. He's born with severe jaundice. His mother hates him. 6 years later, his dad gets him a present. His mom kills his dad with her lover and buries the dad in the crawl space, and Billy sees it. They see him see it. They lock him up in the attic. That's where he lives, is in the attic, and he like crawls through the walls of the house, and then when he's 12, his mother tries to have another kid with the stepdad, but he's impotent. So what does she do? She goes upstairs, and it's heavily implied that she rapes her 12-year-old son. They have an incestuous daughter named Agnes, who becomes the apple of her eye. Billy's jealous, and then one Christmas, he goes downstairs, or escapes rather, pulls out her eye, kills the stepdad, kills the mom, takes mom into the kitchen, takes the Christmas cookie cutters, carves out flesh out of her back, cooks it, and then when the cops come, it's like up close, like you really like, you see the spit and the blood, and like as he's eating it. That's the backstory of Billy. And so, and yeah, just the rest of the film, like the sorority girls, like, I know in horror films and slasher films, they get the hottest people imaginable. And there's only one guy in this movie, the boyfriend of the lead girl, Katie Cassidy, who was the blonde girl in the Elm Street remake, the one that gets ping-ponged, the recreated from the original. Yeah, she's the lead in this. Her boyfriend, who you find out he's fucking another girl in the sorority. But you get Michelle Trachtenberg. Of course, she was Harriet the Spy. You've seen all these girls before. Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She was the idiot cheerleader girl in Death Proof. She's an idiot in this too. Lacey Chabert. She was the slutty girl from Wrong Turn 2. Here, she's the Margot Kidder character. She's the alcoholic, sort of loudmouth. And they're just so unlikable, and they just act like snobby hot chicks. And they're not interesting. None of them have any kind of arc. They're actually kind of annoying to watch. So, yeah, the part of the stupid backstory I ended up finding more interesting than the main story. The thing that wasn't even needed. And what's even more of a bummer is when you get characters like that, like the sort of archetype characters. Like for me, the snobby, annoying hot chicks. None of them really get that good of a death. Like, it actually gets to the point that at the end, when you see all their bodies put together around the tree, you kind of forget how they got killed. I mean, Michelle Trachtenberg gets a ice skate to the back of the head. Lacey Chabert gets her eyes cut out. I would say Mary Elizabeth Winstead does get a decent, sort of more interesting, because Andrea Martin, who is Phyllis in the original, she's the house mother. I do like her in this. They're trying to escape, and they're in the car, and of course the windows are frosted up. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead is from the South, so Andrea Martin grabs the scraper and the brush and goes to hand it to her, and she's like, "What is that then?" And so then, of course, she's like, "You gotta be fucking kidding me." So she's scraping the window. She's like, "Southern princess, fucking bleh." And there's like a little hole in the ice in the window, and you see like the eye of the killer. Which those scenes, even those are not as creepy as in the original. Like in the original, when you just see the eye through like the crack of the door, it's fucking creepy. You kind of see the guy like shaking and his eye like quivering, and you buy it's a twisted person on the other side of that. You know, there's a twisted person that's attached to just that part of the eye. Here, they're just trying to... Sometimes it looks kind of cool and creepy. Most of the time, it just feels like they're trying too hard. But, like, she sees it, and she hears, like, movement in the car, and then it's just, like, just red all on the inside of the windshield. So you don't really get any decent deaths. And then you get this one bitchy sort of character who's the sister of Claire. You know, Claire from the first one. The girl with the bag overhead in the attic. Yeah, they do that. There are slight nods. You get... Actually, a lot of people get bags over the head as being killed. But you do have the girl in the attic. You do have, like, the pointed glass sort of sculpture piece used as a weapon. But that's really it. I mean, yeah, that's, like, jaundice eye. And then the whole twist is there's two killers. Because Billy escaped from the mental hospital he was in. Agnes escaped from whatever she was doing. And Agnes is played by a guy. And, you know, I gotta agree. I gotta kind of steal a little bit from Cody Leach. Go watch his review for Black Christmas as well. He has a lot of funny stuff to say about this. But yeah, she's played by a guy, but it's not like Zelda, where it's used to enhance the look a little bit. Like Zelda was used to... It was a guy to make her look more sickly. Agnes looks like Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers with long hair. He does. It looks like Ted Raimi as Henrietta when she's doing like the from Evil Dead 2. So characters you don't give a fuck about. Backstory which wasn't needed. And I mean, some people can say it's different, but different doesn't necessarily mean it's good. Remakes are very finicky. Because if you do the exact same thing, you get Gus Van Sant's Psycho, you get 2006 The Omen, you get Poltergeist 2015. And if you go two different, people are just like, why is it even called this? I mean, look at Hills Have Eyes. Almost a beat-for-beat remake up until the third act. The whole third act is completely original, and it works. It's great. 2013's Evil Dead. This might be sacrilegious, but that's my favorite remake. At least from the era of remakes, you know, where it became a genre. 2003 to present. Evil Dead would be my favorite. That's almost completely original. That kind of works. Or it's my favorite, so I do think it works. Here, though, it's the same with fucking Halloween. Rob Zombie. Michael Myers is just the embodiment of pure, unstoppable evil. A killing machine. So what does he do? He turns them into the most prolific serial killer ever. Like, he might as well be in one of these books that I have, because every bullet point for how someone could become a serial killer, he gave Michael Myers. Here they did the same thing. And, you know, the first one wasn't really gory. It had its blood, but it was more stylized, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Here they try to go for gore, but it's all eyeballs. Like, they know people have, like, a eyeball squeamish. Really, the only gore would be, like, when the cookies made out of the mom's flesh, and at the end in the hospital, when Katie Cassidy pushes Billy over the thing and he lands on the spiky top of a Christmas tree and you sort of see his organs coming out. But yeah, like, I didn't care for any of the characters. There's no tension or build up. The first one was creepy. I mean, like, when Olivia Hussey is screaming up into the house because she doesn't know where the killer is. That's creepy. Or like at the very end when you know the killer's still in the house. And she's in there and it's left ambiguous. This, it just... Like, it's almost like they looked at Black Christmas like, okay, how can we take the same thing, Christmas, bag over head, girl in attic, you know, killer named Billy, sorority house, but do it completely fucking different. Like, yeah, let's make him the most twisted, fucked up killer we can. We'll even have his mom rape him and have an incestuous baby. And I think what's even more sad, I have the feeling this is going to be better than the 2019 feminist agenda PG-13 bullshit that came out on the Friday. Yeah. I don't know what else more I can say about this movie that is, you know. Oh, yeah. And still, there's like characters that you completely forget about until, you know, you see all the bodies at the end. Like, when the older sister comes in looking for Claire, because she's like the first one to get killed, you totally forgot about her. When they're passing around gifts, there's like this one ugly duckling girl, nerdy girl with glasses. She's really quiet, but she's really like nice, but you can tell she's weird. She's in like one scene, and then you don't see her again till the end when her head is hanging on the tree. But you see in her room that she's obsessed with the story of Billy. So it's just like, the writing is all over the place. I would say it is kind of well shot. You know, you do get, like, when they try to get colors across, like, Billy has jaundice, so they really get the yellow to pop out. Or, you know, the Christmassy colors, the really, you know, lights look good. But that's pretty much it. And this is a truly shitty remake. It's not the worst I've ever seen or the worst I own, but it's still a suck-ass movie. Fuck Black Xmas 2006. But anyway, so now that I've done the original and this, now I got to do a reslashed episode, so stay tuned for that. That's going to be on both reslashed and the Christmas playlist. But anyway, Black Christmas remake, clearly not a fan. Thank you for watching.